والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah. I want to talk today about a topic which I've touched upon in Ramadan, but it's extremely important for our community to understand this masala properly and also how to engage with society with it. So you probably saw in the news that there's a bit of promotion going on in Oxford University. So there's a lesbian lecturer who is of the view that a man cannot become a woman and a woman cannot become a man with transgenderism. So 2 years ago she left Sussex University, and this is a tactic that the trans community uses to silence anyone, to try to get them removed from their jobs and so forth. So she was going to give a talk in Oxford University, and the LGBT community there started to protest, saying that she shouldn't be allowed to speak. So it's kicked off a whole discussion about free speech. And today I was just reading that the Oxford College, I'm not sure which exactly do, is taking a very hard line on this, basically saying that anyone who doesn't call people by the pronoun they want or constantly goes on about denying their identity can be thrown out of Oxford. You can get thrown out of this college, right? So this is where things are going. And this issue is going to, sooner or later, catch up with us. And already is happening in schools and so forth. So this is an issue that we've got to keep an eye on where it's going. So I want to talk about two things. One is obviously homosexuality, and the other one is transgenderism. I don't know if I have enough time to cover it today, but inshallah we'll make a start. And what, I mean, from a legal perspective, I mentioned this in Ramadan, that the Equalities Act 2010 gives us the right to state what our belief is. So the law of the land, legally, you're allowed to say, I'm a Muslim, I do not believe in this. I'm a Muslim, homosexuality is a sin in my religion. I'm a Muslim, I only believe in marriage between a man and woman. I'm a Muslim, and in Islam there is only two genders. Nobody can get you arrested or fired or anything for that. This is your legal right. So just like the community has the legal right to project their belief, you have the right to project your belief. Now the grey area is, and this is what I'm looking into right now, is about discrimination. You have to be able to express your position in a way which you're not discriminating, harming, harassing, or promoting hatred. Right? So it's all about how you say it. It's all about how you message things. So we have to train our community of how do we discuss this in a way which we keep ourselves safe, but at the same time we do not compromise on our religious beliefs. And this is extremely important. Why? Because the strategy, their strategy is to target the youth. Why do they want to target the youth? Because older people are harder to convince. You take a person in their 60s, very rarely they're going to agree with this stuff. Right? They're going to say this is not right. As you come down the ages, you'll get more and more people agreeing with it. And if you're getting taught this in school, and you're getting normalized, desensitized to this, these people who are 15, 16 now, in 10, 15 years time to 30, going to the 40s, they will not see it as big a deal as people now in the 30s and 40s see it as. This is a strategy. 50% of the Muslim community in the UK is under 25. So our community, from all of them, is the youngest. Half of our community is under 25. So this is what we've got to keep our eye on. We may understand this issue, but we need to make sure our children understand this issue. So I'm going to start with homosexuality. Let's see how far we get. So obviously, when you're dealing with, when we're talking about alcohol with non-Muslims, right? They drink alcohol, they sell it, it's everywhere. But when you have a discussion, very quickly you can say, well, we're Muslims, we don't drink. Well, why is that? Well, because of the harm it causes to society. And you can rattle off a couple of things about drink driving and domestic abuse. And they say, okay, yeah, I can understand that. So we don't have an issue defending ourselves when it comes to alcohol, and we have to have the same confidence when it comes to these issues. So you can't, when you're explaining to non-Muslims, if you just say, well, the Quran says it, say, well, we don't believe in your Quran. So if you say homosexuality is sin because the Quran says it, it's fine to say that, and you should say that. But they might say, yeah, but what's wrong with two people that love each other? This is what you get told, isn't it? What's wrong with two people that love each other? They're not doing you any harm. They want to get married, they want to do whatever. What's your problem? So this idea that this is the premise, isn't it? The premise is that two people are in love. What have you got to do with it? You say that's fine, okay. If that's what if you're saying all it means is two people to be in love, that's it. We say it has to be between a man and a woman, and in marriage. So the first thing we clarify is that, listen, we don't think that we're just against homosexuality. We say that a man and a woman cannot have relationship outside of marriage. That's also haram. A man and woman, can't have these relationships except in marriage. The only way we allow relationships is through marriage between a man and woman. Whether that's two women, two men, three men, four men, five, whatever formula you come up with. Even if it's a woman and man, it's still not right for us unless they're married. So they cannot say that you're being homophobic, because we say we say this about other relationships as well. Right? Number one. Number two is that if the only criteria is two people are in love, we say, okay, what do you think about a brother and sister who are in love and want to get married? This was I saw this recently. Now, if they say no, you say, what? What's wrong with that? You say, that's not right. You say, sorry, what did you say? It's not right. Based on what? Well, it's not moral, is it? You say, did you say it's immoral? Right, okay, well, what we're saying is that what you're doing is immoral. So it's the same, isn't it? You can't play. If you're going to say this is your principle, two people, right? What's wrong with a excuse me for saying this. We have to say this. A grandfather and a grandchild. This has happened. You Google it, you can see it, right? What's wrong with those relationships? You see. So you have to play that logic against them. You use the same logic. We're not talking about Quran. We're just talking logically, right? So if you say, well, if it's only two people, then you should also agree with incest. You should agree with incest. And why are you restricting it to two human beings? Why are you discriminating against animals? Why are you discriminating against God's creation? Or just forget God's creation. Creation. If a man wants to marry a tree, why not? What's your problem with it? Why are you standing in the way of love? If a man, and this is I saw this in Germany, there was a protest for bestiality. Bestiality, for those who don't know, is a human being with an animal, right? There was a protest in Germany. You can Google this. People came with their animals, their dogs, and they were saying that we should be able to have relationships with our animals. So where do you draw the line? Where's the line here? We say, look, our line's very clear. Man and woman, marriage, that's it. Everything else outside that is wrong. Period. And that's been the same understanding for centuries, not in our just our tradition, for centuries and centuries. Do you know something? Human societies function absolutely fine with it. It's procreated, no problem, right? We've not had any problems. So why would you change something which already works and you know works in society? We're talking to somebody who's maybe not even a Muslim here, right? Maybe an atheist. So marriage brings about responsible procreation, because you can have children outside of marriage, and is also protected society and led to society functioning from generation to generation. The next thing you want to say is that if you look at the studies, all studies on family structure show that where you have two biological parents, they do much better than other families. They do better economically, they do better in physical health, mental health, depression rates, suicide rates, social delinquency, antisocial behaviour, you name it. So all your studies, your secular studies are showing that this is the best way forward. So then they say, look, hold on a second, they say we've got studies to say that a child brought up in with two fathers or with two mothers do just as well as anyone in society. Right? You might use this. Then what you say to that is, well, hold on a second. For you to have a study which has been proven over and over again, you need something that's called time. You have to do something over a long period of time and observe it. This thing is so recent, we don't have enough time. We will not know if this has worked or not worked until many generations ahead. So it's actually not even possible. And I came across this woman, you can maybe Google her name's Katie Frost, a Australian woman. And she said the reason that she's interesting is because she was brought up by two women. So she was brought up by two lesbians. Okay? Her mother got divorced and then ended up with another woman. So she was brought up by two people of the same gender. And she said they brought me up really well. She herself is for a male-female family. She doesn't believe that the two genders can bring up children properly. Interesting, isn't it? So they asked her, how come you're saying this? Because you didn't have any problems. And she said something really interesting. She said that the social scientists have been studying families for decades. Right? They've been studying families for decades, and when they're not talking about same-sex parenting, two men or two women bringing up a child, they've agreed on three things. Number one, that biological parents give an advantage to a child the way two unrelated parents cannot. It's just fact. Studies show this. Men and women bring two different things to the child. What a woman will do for the child, the man can't do. And what the man can do, the woman can't do. Thirdly, she said when a child loses a parent, it diminishes their outcomes. So she said these three things social scientists agree upon. So she goes, how come, if that's what they agree upon, when it comes to these other studies, so-called studies, which are saying that people who bring up a child with two people of the same gender are absolutely fine. She goes, it doesn't make sense. So she then went away and looked at all these studies and found all the kind of inconsistencies. So again, that is it's a social experiment. To do it at this scale is a social experiment. You will not know the results until many decades later. And the same thing, if they say, well, we've got these desires and you're not letting us get married, or you're not letting us have this relationship, you say, okay, you have a single person who's not married, do we allow them to fornicate? No. So no scholar's going to say, okay, you have desires, you can't get married, no problem, go and fornicate. No. You have to control yourself. If a person gets divorced, they're not in a marriage situation, can they go and fornicate? No. So just because you have desires, that's not an automatic excuse for you to be able to fulfill that desire. It has to be done in the proper way. And then this thing, in fact, we ran out of time, I didn't get to the transgender, maybe another photo, inshallah. But this thing about the other claim is that people are born like this. You hear this. And they used to say this for many years, that we're born like this. The really interesting thing, and this is why I'm going to finish up there. The really interesting thing is that, see, the LGB, which is lesbian, gay, bisexual, they're going, and you can see it now, they're going to end up fighting with the transgender movement. There's going to be an internal fight. Why? Because one group is saying we're born like this. The other group saying biology doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where you're born, that's what you feel. So they're actually saying two different things. Now, they did a scientific study in 2019. It was the largest study they've done on this topic. 500,000 people were involved, 100 times bigger than any study before it. And they found that there is no gay gene. You are not born like this, right? They said that genetics may make up between 8 to 25% of the person. So in other words, you may have genetic, you may have a kind of inclination or prone to it, but at least 75% or more is due to the environment. It's how you grow up, it's your values, it's the schooling, etc., etc. So again, someone says that, you just say, well, the studies say something else. Okay, and I wanted to get into the next topic, maybe inshallah, future day, because we're out of time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to understand these things and also to be able to articulate our belief and our faith. And the thing is, when you talk to people and they bring these things up, you should say these things. These are based on facts, logic, and it's not to get emotional. You have to remain very calm. And if anyone says, well, that you're being homophobic, you say, why? Because you're not affirming my lifestyle. You say, well, you're not affirming my lifestyle. Do you believe in God? No. Do you believe in the Prophet? No. So you're an Islamic phobic then. You have to use the same logic back. You say, look, disagreeing with a belief does not make you automatically against, or not against, but it doesn't make you automatically have hatred towards that group. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.
If you can just move forward, please understand that